Kia ora and welcome to the Trends Property Insight series. I'm your host, Andrew Johnson, and on this episode, we're diving into an option many people don't always consider when thinking about their next property move, building a new home. We'll explore what the best practices and processes should look like when ensuring a truly seamless building experience from start to finish. Joining me is Jarrod Angove from Landmark Homes North Shore and Rodney, a leader within their national network. Well, Jarrod, welcome. Thank you very much for taking some time to sit down and talk to me about everything to do with new home building.
Welcome. It's a great pleasure.
Landmark Homes has been around for 48 years now. So over that time, can you tell me what's evolved with the home building process and what you think sets you apart?
Yeah, look, I think Landmark is a strongly values-based business, and I think that's one of our big things. And a lot of that comes from Paul and Debbie Clark, who set the business up some 48 years ago and still own it today. And I think that's a real benefit to who we are as a team. And we carry their kind of personal values right through the business. And that means that as we approach the customer relationship, we're able to do that from a really, I think, honest place and from a place that we're people who are here to help and guide people through the journey.
And the word alongside comes up a lot in your communications and things I see from you guys. So how reassuring can people be, when they're working with you? It can be pretty scary, right? So how does working alongside people, help them when you're guiding them through quite a big decision-making process?
Totally. Well, look, two of our four values, I think, really speak to that. And one of those is integrity and the other one's relationships. And so we like to see ourselves as trusted guide to come alongside people in the process. And I think it's quite easy to be trusted and not be able to guide somebody, and quite easy to guide and not be able to be trusted. And for us, it's about partnering those two things up together as key values and delivering a process that allows our clients to feel like they're part of our team.
And you've got quite an extensive network and team members. So tell me a little bit about the structure in terms of who works with you and who I'd be working with if I came to work with Landmark Homes.
So like Landmark New Zealand's 14 franchises across the nation. I manage the North Shore Rodney franchise based up in Albany. And so if you came into my office, you'd be greeted by Jenny, my office manager. She sits at the front desk alongside my interior designer, Shannon Pepper. And so we've got those two friendly faces up front, but then we take the whole process right through as well. So we've got consents administrators, architects, project managers, QSs, accountants, the whole thing. I sit in behind all of that as the general manager, and then I've also got an expert salesperson, new home consultant, Melanie Tracy, in the team as well, so we can take care of the whole thing.
So it sounds like an extensive sort of network of people I might need to work with. But your local area, you've been there for a while. How does that help you figure out what kind of homes are required for that part of Auckland?
Yeah, so look, North Shore Rodney franchise has been around for about 17 years now. And so I guess what we've achieved in that time is the ability to look at what's required and to understand the way people live in our region. And so we've got quite a diverse region, I guess, being quite a spread out area. We've got your kind of lock and levers down in Takapuna and Milford. We've got your batch owners at the top of the territory up in Omaha, Matakana. We've got the lifestyle people in Coatesville. And then we've got kind of just, I guess, your regular everyday North Shore people who live on the coast or down on the shore itself. And so it's about understanding how they all live, about where they need to travel for school and work, and what the different demands are around, whether they're building coastally and how that affects their lifestyle and their build. And so thinking about all those things makes a big difference.
So with all those different scenarios in mind, you can get people on the right track no matter what their final outcome might be.
Absolutely. I've worked at Landmark for going on 14 years, never built the same home twice. And so that means that I'm able to listen carefully to what people are after. It's really about understanding them, their lifestyle, their dreams, and then us bringing our expertise alongside of that, helping to create the right outcome for them.
Now, in the traditional property market, people think about just buying and selling a house, right? And there's a messaging around you've got something you live in and someone else is living in another house, I'm going to go and buy it off them. What's the barrier, you think, for people considering there's actually a whole other alternative, which is to look at building their own home from scratch? Look,
I think it'd be fair to say there are some horror stories around home building that have kind of circulated and people hear these things. And it's like anything, you never really comment on something unless you're really unhappy. And so we hear a lot of that kind of stuff out there. From our point of view, it's really about saying, how do we create an opportunity for people to have some certainty around home building? And it's that certainty that we can offer. And when people begin to see that, they can really see that it is a viable option. And that comes down to fixed price contracts, comes down to clarity of specification, comes down to answering all of the questions before we even dig a sod of earth. It's creating that real, that wraparound service that allows people to confidently move into the process.
So if we break it down, there's a couple of different scenarios that people can engage with you. So In terms of from a ready-to-build perspective, what does that term mean, and what does it, involve with people when you use the term ready-to-build within your home?
Absolutely. So Landmark Homes, because of our extensive history, have got just well over 100 ready-to-build plans that have been designed and tweaked and kind of created to, I guess, do a couple of things that, like, they're there to build. And there's no question we can build those, but they also create inspirational opportunities for people to go, oh, look, I could do something like that, or elements of this would work for my family. And so we've got all of those plans ready, priced, and we can create opportunities to put those onto a site somewhere so that people can take one of those and go straight with it as a ready-to-build home.
And do people actually build the plan as it is? Is there quite a bit of sort of, I like the bathroom from that one and the kitchen from that one, and can I plug and play different parts of those existing plans?
Look, around the country, different things happen. So in the regions, often we will build some of the standard plans or ready-to-builds exactly as they are. When we get into some of the other areas, like, say, Wellington, where you've got steep sites, it's more a case of saying, look, how could we take things from different plans and create an opportunity for more of a design build or a tweaked ready-to-build? So, yes, certainly they can be adapted and changed to suit anybody.
And are there advantages in the building process itself when you're building to a plan that you may have actually, done for somebody else, knowing that where the fishhooks might be or where the tricky areas of the build are? Does it make it more efficient to build from that process?
Yeah, it really can. I mean, it's about saying, look, we've already got some of the, I guess, the design work done, so some of those costs are taken care of. So also some of the ready-to-builds are designed to create, I guess, economies of scale within the design as well. So that helps with some of the price costing and the way we put things together. And we've got the certainty then of saying, hey, we've built this before. We've ironed out any of the kinks. And so we're not going to discover any fishhooks or surprises as we head through the journey.
And another scenario is sort of a house and land package approach. So what does that involve when people work with you?
Yeah, look, I think the great thing about house and land is it gives people the opportunity to imagine what could go on a site. We often find people will be looking at land and they're like, what could even possibly be built here? And so we'll advertise house and land packages on our website and across the spectrum of different platforms. And that allows people to go, look, we could build that home on that site. Here's an overall price point for that, which the bank love. We can even help people work with finance. There's a whole lot of different finance opportunities that sit in that space. And it gives people just that ability to go, yep, we can do this for this money in this time frame.
So that certainty must be reassuring for people when things are a bit uncertain at the moment, right? The market's a bit up and down. And so if I had a house and land package with you, is the house that's designed for that land the only house I can build on it, or could I change that?
Not at all. So look, it's really up to you. So we could work with you to do that home, to do some tweaks to that design, or you might say, look, what's the land component part of that worth? And we've got X money to spend on the build on top of that. What could you design for that? And look, we're more than happy to work with that as well.
And are the properties or the land available, in different, you made scenario examples before from Takapuna up through the sort of the rural parts. Yep. Is it land outside the city? Is it in suburbs? Where is the land?
Everywhere. It's really everywhere. So even knockdown rebuilds, some places where we've got people who are building with us elsewhere and are trying to sell something, we will often advertise their current property for house and land, or it might be right through the regions. Like certainly our franchises across the country have got house and land packages up of all different varieties and price points.
Okay, so that's an interesting point you raised, that I could actually consider that my house be demolished as part of the sale process.
Absolutely.
Where do I come to the conclusion that my house is not good enough to sell, or maybe worth more if it was taken out?
I think this is the sweet spot for me on the North Shore, Rodney, anyway. Like I'd say a third of my work would sit into that space. And it's really people who love where they live, but don't love their house. So perhaps your kids are going to a great school, or you've made friends in a neighborhood over a long time. You love walking to the local shops or the parks or the beach or whatever it might be, but your home's perhaps a bit tired. And we can come in and do a design for the site and take care of the whole process, whether removing the home for resale or completely demolishing it and then rebuilding for you. And it's a great way to do the job. It's a great story, actually. We love telling those stories.
Yeah, it's probably not something most people would ever think about.
Yeah, I would do 4 or 5 of those projects every year.
Where do the people live when you're doing the demolishing?
It really depends. Like some of our clients do have their own rental properties they can move into. Some of them might even just buy a lock and leave apartment as a future investment to live in, or they'll just go renting elsewhere.
And how long would that process normally take for you when you say, hey, get out and come back a few months later? What is that time frame?
Like it all depends on the size and complexity of the home, of course. But if I was to bandy some basic numbers around, say a 300 square metre home, you'd probably be out of the home for 10 to 12 months.
Wow, okay. And probably one of the more exciting options is to do whatever I want, right? Custom build. And that, in your case, actually involves, architects, like the high-end stuff, like, so talk to me a little bit about custom building.
Yeah, so we love the design build process. I mean, I think as Landmark, that's principally who we would see ourselves as. We've got ready to build, we've got these other options, but design and build is really our love. And it really comes down to partnering with the right people. And I think partnerships are huge. So partnerships extend just beyond our in-house team and also to a whole range of other subcontractors, trades, architects, and architects are an important piece of that puzzle. And so we just locally engage architects and designers to work alongside us and our clients to come up with the dream process. And it starts with a blank piece of paper with a section shape drawn on it, some topographical lines, and a conversation. And we sit down and chat, do a full design brief process, talk about some photos, some different ideas, and the architect goes away and comes back with an initial concept, and we just keep working that, much like you do with any other architect.
So let's explore that a little bit more in depthly. So I walk in to see you. What should I bring with me? What kind of research or information makes that discovery process, that blank sheet of paper, as you talk about, actually turn from that into reality?
Absolutely. So look, people think they need to have all the answers up front. What I'd say is almost less is more sometimes with this process, because we're the professionals who come to work alongside you. We're able to ask the right questions to draw the loose threads together. Often we'll have a husband and wife, and I end up acting as a bit of a marriage counselor in that design process as well, trying to help people navigate the different priorities that they've got. But it's really about saying, like, there's elements we love about our current home. We've seen these pictures of homes you've built previously. We've been to 2 or 3 show homes. This is what our site's saying, and we help you to understand, I guess, what your site can offer from a design and build point of view. And then we draw those loose threads together, and essentially it sprouts from that. And sometimes we draw something and it's perfect. And that's the dream, but that's unusual. Often it's really about saying, how do we create this process? And it's about tailoring it to your own needs.
Do you find people are discovering in the moment things that they just didn't know they wanted or needed? I mean, how much of that change comes from people saying, we know what we want, we've got our ideas, but actually with talking with you, discover things that they weren't even aware of?
Yeah, I think that happens all the time. And it's really about just, I guess, stretching people a little bit to think about new things they haven't considered. Perhaps they've been living in an older home and they haven't got a scullery, or how they're going to live in a home that, has good outdoor flow, or all of these different questions. And a lot of it's about people understanding their site as well. So if people come to us having already bought a site, they might not have considered exactly what that site can handle from a home point of view, right down to how big it can be, the different topographical requirements, thinking about all those questions. Is there an odd drain running right across the middle of the property that we have to navigate? And so we answer all of that as we go through that process to make sure that when we get to build, that's the fun part.
Funny you say fun part, because most people think, what a nightmare. The building process is, but you guys make it pretty easy. So how does it move from the discovery, anything's possible, to actually nailing down what my flooring will be or what my choices are? How do you get beyond sort of the ideation kind of process to actually, this is what we're going to put into your new home? Absolutely.
And that's just bringing a specialist in. And so in my office, I'm really privileged to have Shannon Pepper, and she works full-time for us, and she's a qualified, highly decorated interior designer, does kitchen design, bathroom design, and she sits with our clients, every single one of them, and just literally spends hours workshopping that process. And some people just say, Shannon, please just come to us with ideas and we'll tick them off. Some people want to go to every tile shop and tap shop in the region to have a look. And Shannon just works through the things with those people. We've got a current client at the moment where Shannon's buying all their furniture as well. So it can extend from simply picking colours right through to kitchen design and buying your beds and dining tables.
Well, yeah, because that's what comes to mind is the hassle.
Yeah.
Right? Of like, okay, it's great to have choices, but now I've got to go and find or think about things.
Yeah.
So someone like Shannon sort of extends, there's a bit of it to help there.
We remove all the hassle. We've got a selections room set up in the office with samples of tapware and tiles and carpets and everything you can imagine. Big screen TV to run through stuff together. And often what that allows us to do is make some high level choices quite early on. And then we can narrow them down on a piece by piece. So we give our clients little jobs to do without overwhelming them in the process, but then also give them lots of, warning about when we're going to need some decisions made and as much help or not as they want to make them.
So where does the transition happen from I've walked in the door, we've started this, to me needing to pay you something or engage you? Where does that formal engagement process come into play?
Look, around the country, there are different models for that. And so as a general rule, though, look, designs do cost something. And we believe in the value of the design that we offer. And so once we've got, I guess, a bit of an idea about what you want to spend, about what your site's going to require, and about, I guess, a bit of collaboration around can we do what you want for the money you've got to spend, we'd then have a conversation around what it looks like to get a formal design underway. And look, we've got around the country, some people are doing initial concept designs for $5,000. In my particular franchise, we typically charge about 1%. And that really allows clients just to focus. And so if you're doing a $2 million build with us, $20,000 is going to get you everything you need to know about what you're going to build, about how you're going to fit it out from a spec point of view, and most importantly, a fixed price contract.
And that's really important, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine you invest that $20,000 now, you're going to save what could be, a lot more than that in the future.
Absolutely.
And so with things, you mentioned about fixed, but in terms of the variations, how do you manage that as you move through the process into the next phases of giving people an idea of, okay, there may be some variation on pricing on certain things. How do you manage that with your clients' expectations?
Yes, I think it's really just clear communication. Like, I think communication is everything in every part of life, but especially in building. Like, we know everything about the building industry. Our clients typically don't. Might be the only time they'll ever build a home. And so our job is to really upskill them and give them all the information they need. And so what we like to do is we like variations to essentially be client-driven. We want to get to the point where when we sign a building contract, we've thought of everything they're going to need from the start of the design right through to, I like to say, moving in and grabbing a cold drink out of the fridge. That's how I like to describe it to my clients. So if you don't make a change, you can expect to pay what you've signed a contract for, with the caveat of a few provisional sums around site works. But those are all based on quotes as well. So providing we find what we expected to find, you can expect not to pay more than what you signed up for.
Wow. Okay. That's not something you hear every day.
No, and we've intentionally positioned ourselves like that. It's really about giving that certainty. Look, it's their biggest investment ever. And whether you've got a $500,000 budget or a $5 million budget, you've still got a top point somewhere where you've got to max out. And our job is to say, what can we create for that money? How can we maximize the money you want to spend without spending all of it if you don't want to? And how can we create the certainty so that when we're building the home, you're not freaking out about every invoice turning up. You know it's going to turn up. Your project manager's communicated it's coming. You've got the funds in the bank or your broker's sorted them out. Payment comes through and we just keep moving.
So moving into the building and construction phase. So what's the timeline that we've just been through in terms of I walked in, we've done discovery, Shannon's doing a great job, we've got all the selections in place. How long does that normally take before you start to actually build the property?
I like to break it down into kind of like 3 phases. So initially we've got this design and pricing phase. Providing a client's happy to make some decisions relatively quickly, I like to think we can have a design and a price in 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
But like typically I'd say 3. Because it gives a bit of wiggle room for a bit of decision making and people to go on a long weekend holiday or something like that.
Yes.
So 3 months, you'll know exactly what you're going to build, exactly how you're going to fit it out, and exactly what you're going to pay. Then we go ahead and do the working drawings. So that's all the documentation for council. So we'll do the design and pricing, sign a contract, start all the working drawings, and that's probably about 8 weeks worth of working drawings, engineering, tidying up all that documentation, and then it goes into building consent. And we're finding most of our consents are coming in about 8 weeks at the moment. So we have this 3 months design and pricing. Then we've got about 4 months of working drawings and consents. So say 6 or 7 months up front. And then we try and get on site within 2 weeks of the consent being issued. And look, I mean, it depends on the size and complexity, but somewhere between 8 and 12 months is standard. A larger home, like we're working on a 600 square meter home at the moment, that's more like an 18-month build. But we give you that certainty. When we sign a building contract, we have to nominate a start and end date in the contract. And then we have to notify you should there be any changes to that with good reason for them. So you get some real certainty around the whole thing.
And the project management of that, you alluded to having a project manager. I literally have a dedicated person throughout that process who's going to be communicating with
They'll become part of your family.
Right.
Like literally, so in my office, I've got 2 project managers, both highly experienced. And what I try to do, because every client's different. And my 2 project managers are different.
Right.
And so my job is to say, who's going to pair up best with this person? Because ultimately the guys are there getting paid to do the job, but the client is the one that's the most important person or piece in the puzzle. And so it's really about saying, how do we create the best relationship possible? Because that becomes the link. Once we've handed the job to construction, look, I'll still go to site every month for every job at least. But the project manager becomes that key point of contact. And so our clients get asked, do you want to be contacted by text, by email, by phone? How often would you like an update? At the very least, they get a Friday email saying, this is what we've done. Here's some photos of progress this week. Do you want to come to site? Yeah, let us know. We'll meet you on site and go through things together. There's multiple touch points throughout the build where they'll meet the project manager on site to assess the progress, to talk about any changes they want to make sure they're happy with everything as it's coming together. It really is about, I guess, welcoming them into the Landmark team so that they can go through the job with excitement rather than just kind of turning up at the end and going, oh, that was a bit stressful. Yeah.
Which you do hear, some of those stories out there, right? That is
absolutely
the process, unfortunately, for some people.
Yeah.
So the project manager is working to also mitigate those things that come up, right, in terms of having that certainty. So it must be reassuring for people that work with you that, they can rely on that person to say, let's mitigate as many variations as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a couple of things in that space, like communication again is everything. So look, because builds are fluid, things will happen. We can be digging the ground and come across a soft spot. And you don't know that's there until you dig a hole. And so one thing I like to say is, hey guys, bad news early. And it's really important that as soon as we discover something that could create a cost increase, that the client's made aware of it. On the spot, I encourage my project managers to give them a call and to say, hey guys, we've discovered this thing. I've chatted to the excavator. It's probably $5,000 worth of additional works required. Are you happy for us to continue? Most often the client says yes, then we send some paperwork and they sign it. And so on that same day, there's some real clarity around that. The project manager then is also forecasting. So at the very start of the job, he does a full schedule for the whole project right through to the cleaner being required at the end with dates for everybody. Obviously, there might be some changes, but when they change, everyone gets another email indicating when they're going to be required. The client can also be included in some of those main milestones within that process. So they're aware of how things are going, so they can know what to expect. Yeah.
They must be extremely talented people.
Oh, they really are.
Hang on to those two. It sounds like they're superstars and magicians because you'd be dealing with so many suppliers.
Yes.
Trying to get them all together at the same time of an orchestra sort of bringing together. The relationships you've got with suppliers, what's that like for you that you've been able to establish over the last couple of decades?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things in that space. So with a company like Landmark being nationwide, we've got some what we'd call, supplier relationships which go right across the country. And so that gives us the certainty of supply, but also like really, really good pricing because we're buying or signing deals in bulk. And so that really helps with some of the big ticket items that we get for our clients, like the main merchants, things like Jib, some of the cladding products. We get some real certainty there. But then at a local level, look, building's really about partnerships and relationships. And as I said earlier, it's about us to the client. It's about our in-house stuff. And then it's also about how we connect with our partnerships, with our plumbers, with our drain layers, with our excavators, all the different trades that are required. And there's 40 or 50 on a job when you think about the whole project. And so forming relationships which I think are mutually beneficial is really important. One of the things that I like to do as a general manager in our business unit is have an annual sub-year review with every trade that we work with. We're sitting down with our guys and saying, hey, look, what could we be doing better so that you can serve us better so that our clients get the best result? And that's communication around financing and invoicing. It's around health and safety. It's around, timing and scheduling. It's all these different things. And it just means that there's always open communication between us and our tradies to make sure that they're actually doing things, what we like to call the Landmark way, so that our clients are actually seeing the benefits.
Well, it's an amazing sort of cover for people to have across those services. So, if a plumber, this is playing devil's advocate here, if a plumber, made a mistake or did something, then that mistake is on you in 100%. Terms of your relationship and monitoring them?
Yep, absolutely. So look, as the main contractor, we take responsibility for everything. Someone's responsible and it's always me. And that's okay. Because I think ultimately it's about having the processes in place to make sure that can be dealt with. And so there'll always be mistakes. That's the human factor. It's probably the most enjoyable thing about the whole process is that it's human to human stuff. And so look, what we like to encourage all of our subcontractors and even within our own business, you make a mistake, just pop your hand up. It's not a witch hunt. It's how do we get better with that next time? How do we kind of mitigate that thing happening again? But most importantly, how do we fix that right now?
Yeah.
And look at, because we have these relationships that are built over 15 plus years in our own franchise, it means that the certainty of future work means our guys are happy to come back and fix stuff. It means that they know we're going to share some of the pain with them. Ultimately, it's about protecting the client from any of that. And often there'll be things that go wrong on a site that have no monetary impact, and the client won't even know about them because it's just not worth the stress of them having to carry that at all. Our job is to remove all of that so they can go about their jobs, about their family life. One of the things my project manager often says to me is, look, we've got no idea what's going on for our clients while we're building their house a lot of the time. They've got deaths in the family, they've got jobs, they've got teenage kids who are struggling, they've got all these things. And our job is to connect with that where possible, but ultimately give them the freedom to do that while their home's being built. And if we can remove any of these stresses so they can focus on what's really important over here, that's where the magic happens.
It's a wonderful position to be in, because I know from my own personal experience of renovating a couple of properties and selling and buying and so forth, when you're going through the process, there is an expectation sometimes that you're kind of part of the process that you're engaging and paying for, and you kind of feel guilty or pulled from pillar to post when you actually, as you say, running businesses, going to work, looking after households and family. So it's nice to know that that's actually something that you put amongst all your suppliers and people, that, hey, these people have lives that we're trying to improve.
Yeah, and I think like we've built homes for people who have lived overseas the whole time. And we just connect with them, via Zoom, via WhatsApp, via emails. And so like the process can be as involving of the client or not as it needs to be. It's really just about focusing on what each individual client needs. Some people want to be there every second day. Now, I'd rather they didn't come every second day, to be fair, but if they want to drive past and say hi, look, by all means, ultimately we want to involve them in the way they want to be involved in their home build.
So talking about the homeowners sort of coming in and wanting to be part of the process, are there key stages as you move towards the end of the build that are milestones, that are the exciting bits that, talk about roof shout, or you talk about, all the exteriors, are there key moments that you do invite people to come along and they should look forward to as it comes to conclusion?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, we like to, at the very start, have the client kind of be part of that process and enjoy the fact that we're starting on site. Certainly once the frames are up and the roof is on, we have the classic roof shout. And look, a lot of our clients are so engaged with the process. They're like, get all the tradies in, we'll shout pizza and beers, whatever it might be. So that's always really cool. But also once we've got the frame stood, we like people to walk through and just imagine what their view is going to be like through all the different windows, see that in the flesh now. That's a good time to make any little changes that need to happen. We'll do an electrical walkthrough, because obviously, you can see a plan, PowerPoints are here and light switches are there.
Yeah.
But it's not until you're actually doing it that you get to make those little choices. And then look, often when the kitchens are going in, when the tiles are happening, those kind of times are great little points, because you're actually seeing the specification part of it come together, the way you're actually going to touch and feel and live in a home. Yeah. And like on a home we're doing at the moment, look, we're doing landscaping as well. And so the client's there kind of making choices around tree selections and all that type of stuff as well.
So when you get to the end of the process and you're standing there, keys in your hand, I suppose you'd say metaphorically, what's that like for you after all the time and effort you put into getting people to that point in time?
It's really cool. I mean, we love it. So we try and have like a formal handover, when we'll turn up with a couple of bottles of champagne and gift box and that type of thing, and celebrate with the clients. And we'll often stand around. I mean, my favorite handover ever was a job we did up in Snells Beach, and we sat on their deck looking at their view with, wine and cheese for 3 hours and just chatted like old friends. And like one thing I like to say is, like, I want to get on with all my clients better at the end than I did at the start. It's really easy to get on with somebody when they're signing a contract, because they wouldn't do that if they didn't want to. It's at the end when you've got through all of that, and you're handing the keys over, and you can look someone in the eye and go, that was great, we really appreciate it. And they're like if we build, we'll build again with you. That's where the magic happens. And when they tell their friends at their, housewarming, and we've been invited to several housewarming parties. It's really cool to turn up to those kind of things and just be proud of the thing you've created with somebody. And it's beyond the house, it's the relationship, it's those type of things as well.
Yeah, well, it's turned from a house to a home, right?
Absolutely.
It's where these people are going to create their future memories. It's pretty special process.
Oh, we love it. Yeah.
And the handover process obviously also has got the guarantee to come with it, right? In terms of the standard, bits and pieces. But talk me through what that means, what you can reassure people with after they actually have the property.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that sit in that space. Look, certainly there's, under New Zealand law, there's a 12-month defects period. So within the 12 months, so you're moving into your home, we guarantee to come back and fix any defects. That's not like you banging a hole in the wall and you're moving your bed in, but it's if a door's sticking or some paint touch-ups or those kind of things. So we come back and fix those things, which gives you some real certainty about that. Often when a home settles in over 4 different seasons, timber homes will move a little bit as they settle down, so we'll come and remedy any little cracks or anything like that. That's one part of it. We also give you what's called a GTE, which is our maintenance kind of schedule, and it's an online portal where you can log in. It will give you maintenance warnings and recommendations around, hey, time to clean the gutters, or have you thought about a house wash, or
awesome,
time to give the garage door a bit of a service. And you can also just load all of your other warranties and guarantees into it. So you buy a new TV, load that in there as well, so they're all in one place, which is pretty cool. Certainly, like, we're a member of Master Builders New Zealand as well, and I think that gives people real certainty. Like, Master Builders do come out and check that we do still meet the requirements of being a master builder from an on-site perspective. It also gives some certainty around payment schedules, so we can't just claim all the money up front and then go to Hawaii on them. Master Builders kind of dictates at what stage we can claim and how much we can claim. And also there's the 10-year guarantee around workmanship, water tightness, those kinds of things. And then quite apart from that, under Building Law New Zealand, the owner of each of the franchises guarantees personally every home for 10 years.
Really?
So there's a lot of stuff that sits in that space.
Wow.
And I think over all of that is this 48 years of Landmark New Zealand. And so Paul and Debbie Clark, who still own the whole network, look, they stand behind every home we build. And so, look, if something were to happen, Landmark New Zealand, where required, will look to kind of step in to a degree and kind of help with the process.
Now, it's pretty obvious that you love the Landmark homes that you build. You're pretty proud of them, and
Absolutely.
You should be.
Yeah.
But other people think they're pretty cool too, right? So in terms of some of the major organisations, you've received quite a number of national and regional awards across the network, haven't you?
Absolutely. So look, I mean, obviously there's the Teeter Awards, which we've done very well in.
You have indeed.
So Shannon Pepper, my designer, has won several awards for kitchens, for bathrooms, and then also right across the network. Look, every time there's a Teeter Awards, there are multiple Landmark franchises entering and winning.
Yeah, well, it's funny because with the Trend International Design Awards, people don't think of a home builder winning a kitchen or winning a bathroom.
Yeah.
But some of the work that Shannon has done, the judging panel have obviously said, yep, this is world-class stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I think that's a real tribute to her. And I think, to Landmark as well, giving her the space to really excel in that area. Look, for us, you can build a nice home, but it's the finishing touches that are personalised to a client and the way that you live in a home, which come down to those kinds of things. So Shannon takes real detail and real pride in the way she designs kitchens, the way she thinks about the way colours will interact with each other, the way surfaces will feel, all that type of stuff. And she's really quite exceptional at it. And every job's different. And so I know she loves working with the clients, and we certainly love the outcomes, and great to see rewards and awards for that kind of on a national level.
Yeah, well, even when there haven't been like winning the award for the year, there's been highly commended across lots of the work that Shannon does and through the whole network, which is awesome. And with the Register Master Builders, in terms of you're up against every house building company in the country, but you've had some exceptional kind of awards both nationally and in the regions for some of the work that's been done across the network.
Certainly House of the Year awards, like every year, Landmark Homes enters multiple builds. We've got 2 ourselves this year from our franchise, and look, huge accolades we've received over the years for that. And it's always great to, go along to a black tie dinner, often with a client, and sit there and see them win a gold award for the home that we've created together. Look, we really love that. And look, further to that again, even just in terms of the way our businesses are run, earlier this year, Landmark Taupō won the Westpac Franchise of the Year award across all the different franchises they deal with, not just builders. And so there's the way we build, the way we design and fit things out, and also the way we run our businesses. And I think it's a credit to the whole brand, really.
Is that why you've chosen to do what you do? I mean, it sounds like it must take up so much of your time. You've got incredible passion and authentic belief in what you do. It's pretty obvious. But why do you do this as your job?
Look, I love people. I think that's the biggest thing. I was a builder for a long time, and so kind of got that hands-on experience, sold timber to Landmark from placemakers for a while there as well. So had a pretty clear understanding of who they are as a business and the integrity that they have. And then when I got offered to join the team, it just was a no-brainer really. And look, I love my job. I love the people I get to work with, and I love being part of what is a recognized and awarded brand.
So if you were talking to people who are, they're sitting in their home today, they're looking at all different options when it comes to their property, they're staying in it, they're going to sell it, they're looking to buy, they might look to build. When it comes to the options that you have, what would be, you think, probably the biggest misconception there is in the market about the process if people were to consider to come and work with you guys? Yeah,
look, I think the biggest concern people still have or misconception is that it needs to be scary and uncertain. Look, I think we can remove all of the uncertainty. And I think our clients will testify to that. So like one of the things I love to offer is a list of say 20 or 30 phone numbers from previous clients and say, you can give any of these people a call and they'll tell you about the experience of Landmark. They're not primed for it. They just know they got their number on our list. And it gives them a chance to say, hey, look, what was it like with Landmark? How was Jarrod to deal with? Did your home come in on budget? What about the timings? How's the quality 5, 10, 15 years later? Those kinds of things I think are crucial. And I think letting people understand that great stories can be told, which I think far exceed the negative stuff that we hear in the industry, allows them to have some confidence in doing that.
And any innovations or trends you're seeing coming up in what people are doing with the way they design their homes or new ways to live inside their homes that you see emerging as an innovational trend in the future? Yeah,
look, I think, and it sounds a bit cliche, but we are seeing more and more stuff with the smart home coming in, and that's developing all of the time. Like back in the day, you had to fully wire your home with all sorts of stuff in order to create any smart home stuff, and it just costed tens of thousands of dollars. What we're finding now is the opportunity for people it's more like plug and play. You can add to it via an app. Your light switches can just have little boxes on the back of them that allow them to all connect to move your curtains, to do this, to do that. It's really cool. One of our show homes in Pirata Rise in Franklin's got that set up in it. So it's great to go along and check that out in the flesh. And then I think as well, people are trying to create this kind of green space in their homes around the way they interact with the environment. And so more and more we're seeing a call for solar, for more efficient ways of doing things, for creating opportunities to have, more insulation and better joinery so that we have less requirements for heating and that type of thing. And so it's about us being ahead of the game with that stuff, having the right partnerships again in those areas to bring specialists in to answer those questions so that people get to imagine and then experience what it's like to have homes like that.
So you mentioned the show homes. You've got an amazing network of show homes throughout Upper North Island, throughout New Zealand. Can I just turn up? Do I need to ring, make an appointment?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. Like if you jump on the website, you can totally click on the show homes link and it will tell you when they're open, but all of them are available by appointment as well. So on the website, it gives you the phone number for the local franchise. So if you happen to be in Kinloch, jump online, find the phone number, give them a call. If they're open, they'll meet you down there. If not, they'll arrange to see you there. And that's how it is right across the country.
And you talk about the website. I mean, there's a whole lot of case studies and articles. When I was looking on your site before we jumped on this, was like I could have spent days reading the fantastic stories and information and insights. It's quite a resource.
Yeah, we think it's a great opportunity for people to interact with what it's like to build before they even come to talk to us sometimes. And what we're finding is more and more people are educating themselves. So I know 10, 15 years ago, I'd work at a show home and someone would turn up and they'd have no idea. And they'd have 50 questions. These days, they'll walk in and say, look, we know this, this, and this. And they've got a lot of the answers already because they've done that research. So because people are consuming material like that, providing a portal like the website for that's pretty important.
Awesome. Well, look, I really appreciate you taking some time out of what sounds like an extremely busy schedule.
It's a great pleasure.
To share some of the insight. I think people will learn a little bit more about what the new home build process should look like and demystify some of those misconceptions. So thanks again for taking some time.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much.
And thanks to you for spending some time with us. Don't forget you can find all our episodes on our platform by visiting trendsproperty.com. Here you can browse ideas, inspiration, products and people and places, offering solutions for you on your property journey. Remember, you can sign up and join the Trends Property community where you can connect, collect and collaborate with others or take advantage of our educational guides to help you take the right steps in the right direction. As always, thanks for listening. We hope to see you next time on the Trends Property Insight series where we help you find your place, your way. Ka kite. Goodbye.